The idea of being the so-called bigger person is usually a control tactic used by bullies and abusers because it's rarely issued to the perpetrators. Victims.
Always the
You
victims.
are likely already an introspective, empathic, conscientious, compassionate, and diplomatic person who thinks very carefully about how your actions affect others. You already were the bigger person when they first targeted you. And you will remain the bigger person even if you react in very valid ways to chronic disrespect and transgressions and violations from abusers. So the next time that you are told that you have to be the bigger person, that you have to take the high road, that you always have to walk away without issuing consequences, healthy consequences, remember that this platitude is code for turn the other cheek. Take this mistreatment passively. This benefits the bullied, not the victim. And it places the burden on the victim to constantly rise above the harmful actions of others without actually addressing the harm. This does not protect anybody in society, least of all their future innocent victims. It actually teaches people that they can get away with disrespecting and violating others without consequences. And as for hurt people, that's pretty much a myth because most longitudinal research shows that narcissistic traits tend to be predicted not by childhood maltreatment, but rather childhood spoiling and overvaluation by the parent. In other words, they feel entitled because they've been taught that they are entitled to do whatever they want to other people to get what they want. And the primary subtype of psychopathy is not actually as correlated with childhood trauma as you would expect. This is more of a biological predisposition towards harming others. Hurt people don't hurt people. Narcissistic and toxic people harm others chronically. They hurt others unprovoked out of jealousy, envy, malice, revenge, even though you did not do anything in the first place. But of course, they perceive your very existence as a threat to their ego and a perceived slight. Actually hurt people usually go out of their way not to harm others because of what they've been through. And if they do unintentionally lash out, they not only apologize and make amends, they actually take actions to correct their long-term behavior. Unlike narcissistic and toxic people who attack and bully others unprovoked, and yes, this has been shown by a meta-analysis of 437 studies, narcissistic traits are in fact associated with multiple forms of bullying and aggression, including premeditated, unprovoked aggression. Unlike those types of manipulators, actually genuinely hurt people with empathy. Their actions match their words, their apologies match their accountability. And you don't have to continue to be kind to unkind people because you're hoping that they'll change because of your kindness. Don't double down on your kindness towards disrespectful people, because that just rewards them for their cruelty and they are allowed to go unchecked in their behavior. I'm not saying that you have to overexert yourself, over-explain yourself to toxic people, or write long paragraphs trying to explain why what they did was wrong. That's usually a waste of time, unless you're using it for documentation for legal purposes. What I am saying is that you actually issue healthy consequences that make them think twice about violating you again. You make them second guess their behavior the first time around. Yes, in some situations, the only safe way is to exit the situation first before doing so. But there are plenty of ways to hold someone accountable, and it includes legal consequences, exposure, eroding their social networks, taking away resources that they would use to violate you. There is plenty of ways to hold an abuser accountable and a perpetrator accountable. It's just that our society often discourages it. But if you think that it's the safest and most effective thing for you to do in that situation, then by all means, explore all your options and be kind to yourself first and foremost. And be kind to innocent people. Save your extra kindness and compassion for people who can actually reciprocate. Save your empathy for those who can reciprocate. Don't teach toxic people and manipulators and bullies that they will feel rewarded and feel more entitled to violate you without consequences. And don't try to reconcile with an abuser in hopes that they will change. That just sets you up to be further exploited, taken advantage of, and you don't deserve that. The most spiritual and compassionate thing you can do in a situation with a toxic person is stand up to bullies. And if they don't change, stand up for yourself. Detach. Remember, narcissists don't respond to empathy or further compassion. They respond to consequences.